Okay, so I put that on there in case I find it for sale by owner. I always put like for the 6%. I always put 6% or 10% on. Now, if I find them something, because I'm doing the buyer's agency agreement, we don't know what way. Yeah. So then if I find something on MLS and they're paying 5%, I don't expect.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's fine. Then do confirmation of compensation stating that the buyers or the sellers are paying the 5%. So your buyer agency has to match the MLS, what you're actually making.
Well, it doesn't have to match. It has to at least be the amount.
Lazy. But if she goes to buyer agency for 10% and she's only
anything
5%.
That's okay. Anything under 10%, we're okay with, as long as you disclose it to your buyers and they understand you're taking less. If you're taking more on your buyer agency, so if you have 5% on your buyer agency but you're taking 10,
no,
then you have to do the confirmation of compensation.
On my buyer's agency, I usually put the 6 or the 10% when I initially get them, because if I find them up to
Are you doing
well on the 10% for land, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But okay, say for the house, and I put 6% on in case, and I do that in case I find it for sale by owner.
You want to be protected.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so she's saying you don't have to do anything additional.
Yeah, if you do, if what you have on the buyer agency is more than what you're receiving, you're good. You just have to let your buyer know, hey, I'm taking less and I'm not charging you anything. If you are taking more, then you have to disclose it in a confirmation of compensation.
So if you were kicked back on that, I apologize.
No, I didn't understand, and I wasn't sure because it's like, okay, why is it not more? But
is this the first one?
But then
well,
when
yeah,
you're looking at that, then I realistically I should be getting 5%.
Sorry.
From the buyer too,
The difference from the buyer, yeah.
But I don't want to take that.
No, then that's fine. But she's saying that's
And
fine.
on your buyer agency, you can, it says on there kind of in the legal mumbo jumbo that we're not going to come after them, but you can just put if 5%, if less.
Or as stated in MLS.
No.
Do that.
Yeah, you can't
Can't-
write it.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't say it's stated in that.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to you. The policies and procedures did.
I know.
I hate doing that.
Did you come back to me?
Yeah,
Were you the one
probably.
that someone came back to me and said you can't do that.
Buyer not responsible for different for any it's early, sorry. Buyer not responsible for difference in payment offered.
Then you might still get kicked back by one of the newer CCSs because it's verbiage and
Right.
but
And that's what verbiage is.
What I would do is in that I can pull up a buyer agency, but like at the on the
that's good.
what is that, page 4 or 5? There should be like a line for additional verbiage, and in the line for additional verbiage, say I'm not
Right.
break it out there,
Right.
because we're not gonna look at it. So, well, I'm not gonna look at it. So,
Well, and I'm here because I screwed up. I screwed up a land deal with the DA. And it's like, no, I'm getting 10%. I'm a seller sub-agent. I'm getting 10%. And it's like, but I didn't have it
I'm doing most of it every now and
so
then.
don't use the verbiage sub-agent because we don't allow sub-agency either.
Well then, okay, now wait. Okay, now, no, because I just didn't, on my contract, I'm a sub-agent.
Keith Atkinson.
You're not. You represent the party you represent.
He actually.
Okay, I had a list sale on a piece of land. I represent the seller. And then how do I represent the buyer?
You do not. They're on their own.
There's a check mark.
So
Yep.
What do I have to check?
Nothing. You put unrepresented buyer on that whole column. So on the seller firm, on that first column, you put unrepresented buyer and you leave them alone. You don't represent them at all.
I moved over here.
The only thing you can do is represent your sellers to the best of your ability, and that if that means writing contracts and getting the job done for them, that's what that means. But you
Okay, so
cannot
I
tell.
just put at the top thing where it says buyer, I put unrepresented buyer, and I don't have to fill anything else out.
that's a hard decision to make anytime.
I put seller
That's
sub-agent.
okay. We know what you mean most of the time. We know you're really probably not representing, but if we see sub-agency, we're going to educate and clarify. So the one thing that we're doing is trying to educate more instead of kicking back.
Right.
files all the time. So if it's not really something that's really going to affect you getting paid, that's not a huge deal. We're just going to start making education notes and approve it with education and go on. But if we see things like that, we'll probably go, did you really mean you're a sub-agent, or do you really mean this or that? So we'll start having that conversation a little more than.
Don't ever look at my files.
Don't look at this
again.
file.
So it's fine. It's fine. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I've got Michelle O'Shell here today. She is, what we're going to do is, Diana used to do a How to Get Paid at EXP class in the world the fourth Wednesday of every month. What we're going to start doing is we're going to combine this class and that class, which just has a couple extra pieces of information about how you get paid, how you get your DA. We're going to combine those classes for next month. We'll offer that here because it's still, Skyslope training, and then with the added piece of how you get paid. We'll come up with some fancy dancy name for it and revise the slides and push it out. Then Michelle's going to teach this same class the third Wednesday of every month in the world. So then we'll have one in person and one in the world every 2 weeks, basically, is how it'll shake out. There might be a week or two, depending on if there's a fifth Wednesday of the month every once in a while, but we should get it shaked out. So next month that's going to start, but we're going to do our best to get you all the information you need. This is a smaller class. We probably won't go we may not go the full 2 hours, just depends on how much and how many questions you have. What I suggest is that I'm here. Ask your questions. You have a broker in charge in front of you. You have a CCS in front of you. If you have a question, ask it. I'm here.
And by the way, I love you.
Thank you.
You are so easy to get a hold of, and you're always willing to respond. And I tell you what, it's been wonderful.
I'm so glad. Well, that's kind of what we're working towards. We're working on hitting 1,500 agents, I think. So we're working on making some changes and doing some things. Michelle's role is going to be changing a little bit here soon. She's going to step into a broker in charge role. We're working on activating a Greensboro office, Concord office, and switching the Asheville BIC today. So full disclosure, we don't hide anything from anyone. So let me just go ahead and put that out there. Carrie's going to be moving to the Concord office, and then Lori Barnwell, our new CCS, is going to be overseeing the Asheville office. So we've got some really cool things coming up and some changes being made. And so if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to reach out to me and we'll get them going. Yes, sir.
For those of us that do have North and South Carolina, I know I've seen that rearrangement, and basically if I didn't have South Carolina, I think I'd come back under you.
Mm-hmm.
But being I have South Carolina, am I staying under?
For right now, you're going to
Okay.
stay under Matt.
Yeah. Okay.
I am working on getting licensed in South Carolina.
Okay.
So that may change in the future. So what we're trying to do now, if you haven't done it, good morning. If you haven't done it, there's a form out there to tell what office you'd like to be under. So even though you are in South Carolina, you can fill out that form and say, I'd like to be under the Lake Norman office. And we have an information board basically that I can go back to later, pull your card and say, okay, see, he said he wanted this, that, and the other. So we can do that. I think we pushed it out to Workplace, but I will make sure we do that. Michelle, can you send me a chat to remind me to do that?
What is that?
The office breakout form needs to be posted to Workplace. That way it'll be top of mind. We are working on, for people who are South Carolina primary, we're working on opening a Fort Mill office. So they will be like a mat on the other side of the border. They'll be primary with that person in South Carolina and then in North Carolina as well. So it'll cross the border just like Matt. Yeah. We know that is huge. So Hopefully that'll just be a couple weeks in the making, maybe a month or so. So if you want to reach out to that recruit and tell them, hey, that's something I just found out today we've got in the making, hold on with me, and try to get that going. All right. So this is Skyslope with Zip Forms training. I do not train Zip Forms. I do a brief overview of Zip Forms and then show you how it works with Skyslope. I believe Carolina MLS provides a Zip Forms training if you need it. So if you really want to dig deeper into Zip Forms, do that. And just, hey, Kelly, did you post that link on Workplace? Aha, thank you. Okay. I know I had some people who wanted to join on the web.
So the answer is there, it possibly could have been, but I don't think that they did any of it.
Let's see what we got here.
No, I know Butner is one of them, right?
All right, so what we're going to do is kind of go over a brief overview of Zip Forms, and then we're going to do an introduction to Skyslope, DigiSign, and then how it all works together, and then show you some important features that we're using, working documents. I'm going to give you a Skyslope checklist cheat sheet that you can print out and put on your desk so you know what you're doing, you don't have to guess, and some common misconceptions. I think we're not going to go over a form of the month. We could just do a Q&A, and if you guys have specific questions on forms, I can answer those for you. I think that tends to be easier, so this will be part of the revamp of the class. All right. All right. So introduction to Zip Forms. I'm going to show you how you log in. Typically, it's the same login as your MLS login. It could be different in different areas, but if you got your login in Charlotte, it's typically your MLS login. How to create a transaction real quick, how to get to your forms library, and just a note that Digital Ink and DigiSign are not the same. So the digital signing platform in Zip Forms is not the same as the digital signing platform in Skyslope. If you want the one in Zip Forms, you have to pay for it. Otherwise, your DigiSign in Skyslope is free. So what we're gonna do, this thing always gets in my way, guys. All right. If you want to have your laptops, if you want to pull up Zip Forms. This is your login screen. Again, if you don't have your login for this, if you are new, you'll want to call Carolina MLS. When you first log into Zip Forms, this is the main screen. You can break things out by transaction. There's obviously a bunch of stuff you can do with this. It works a little bit like a CRM to a certain extent. You could use it for that if that's what you wanted to do. If you want to create a new transaction, you have new. And then you can create a new listing, a new offer to purchase, a new lease, or whatever you would like. You can create templates in here. I do not go over creating templates in Zip Forms, but you can. It'll save the information, save your buyer agency templates to just autofill all your information that you put in over and over and over again.
Mention the updated forms. If they save templates, they need to remember to go back in twice a year and check the updated forms.
Can you say that just a little
Yeah,
louder?
so if you decide to save templates, make sure that the first of the year and the 1st of July, mid-July, you also go in and check to make sure that your forms are updated. We get a lot of people that do that, and then we end up with 2014, 2017, 2018 forms, and we have to get them back.
Right now, we're not rejecting old file or old documents, older versions, unless you're the one who wrote it. So if you're the listing agent and you use the 2017 form, it's getting kicked back because you should have had it updated. But if you were the listing agent and you got an offer to purchase that was outdated and you didn't notice it and they signed it, there's nothing we can do about that. But if you're the one who has the client and that was your transaction, we will kick it back.
That was interesting. I have templates made for buyer and seller,
Mm.
and it automatically added the new OTP. In my, I was like, how'd that happen? Because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But the new OTP was there.
Huh. One thing I noticed they did this
Interesting.
year, and Michelle, you can kind of speak to this, but I see they put old next to it. I don't know that they did that last year. I don't remember seeing that.
Oh, no, in zip form?
Yeah. So
no.
now it says old, and you'll know that it's the old one, like, hey, don't use them. I don't know why they don't just remove them, but whatever. At least they,
Reference.
unless they told
I
us.
think it's for reference so that you can reference back because a lot of people still have files they're using with those
Yeah.
forms and you can reference back to that.
So I did like that feature. So if you click on one of your transactions, it'll bring you kind of to this main screen. Right here in the second line, you have documents, and it'll pull up all of your documents that you have in there. I created this dummy file on our side, but it's worked out real well because if I need a form real quick, I can just go in, search it real quick, and I'm done. And I don't have to go all the way to forms. And it's hooked to my Skyslope, so I can just go in real quick and say, okay, that one I've used 100 times at the top, and I can just click it real quick and go. But I did this for making a forms library. Yes.
So I am North Carolina and South Carolina.
Mhm.
I noticed in my zip form, I seem to have access to North Carolina, but not South Carolina. So
Okay, so
these are the questions.
funny
You know the
story.
answer?
I
Okay.
do. If you are North Carolina and South Carolina, you are required to join a realtor board in South Carolina. If you have not joined a realtor board in South Carolina, you do not have access to
So
those
I
forms.
have joined, so now
You should, so you'll need to call them and say, how do I get it hooked to my,
the border MLS.
It doesn't go through MLS.
it does not go through MLS, so I think the board or zip forms themselves.
Yeah, if you go to South Carolina website, it'll tell you how to do it, how to get access to it.
Okay.
It used to.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a big one. If they find out on the contract compliance side in South Carolina that you don't, you're not getting your file approved. So because it's a requirement, because the BIC can get in trouble if you're not. So when they find those things out, that's about the only way we're finding out is when they say, hey, I can't get to my South Carolina forms. That's how they're finding out people are not a part of a realtor board. So
And that's been the
That's a
biggest
good question.
question when I've been talking to people like that are a South Carolina agent that I know are North and South. Because I know in Keller Williams and Costello and the other couple of agencies we belong to, they didn't use zip forms, but they used Skyslope, Dotloop and so forth. But as an agent within that office, let's say Costello, agent within that office, I had access to both North and South Carolina forms through that office without me personally having to belong to a separate board. And I'm like, why do we have such a difference here in EXP versus just leaving that other brokerage? And it's
The
like,
brokerage in that case was doing the work for you. So they're converting those.
right. So, and that's something I wanted to bring up when we hit this, simply because I'm like, yeah, when I'm talking to other agents that are coming from a different company, already have that in place. And when they get here, they're like, well, why do I have to do this versus the company or the brokerage doing this? So it's a good question.
it is a good question. And so every company, the answer to that question is every company is set up differently.
Mm-hmm.
So in our case, but even in North Carolina, other firms I've been with, they don't pay my realtor dues.
Right.
They don't pay for me to be a part of, what is it? Oh God, drawing a blank. The one CRRA.
CRRA.
Yeah, CRRA. Can't think of what it stands for right now.
Carolina Regional Realtors.
Thank you. I'm just blanking out today.
That's why I'm
Sorry.
here.
I'm like CRA, what does it stand for? You know, they don't pay for me to be a part of that. So that's something that we have to do and is included in the things that we have to do. So it's kind of that same premise on the other side of the border.
When you set your dummy file up, did you just set it up as a listing or does it matter?
I set it up as a transaction. I, after some time, I don't like listing. So
So you set it up
I'm
as
just
a
gonna be
transaction,
honest, I don't like listing.
and you did
So-
new, right?
Yep, new.
And then you just did new offer for me.
Yep, that second one. And you can just put in dummy file, residential, and then it'll let you just kind of upload. And then this way, if you've never seen a form before, you can kind of play around with it. You can import it, play around with it, mess it up. It's not going to mess up your client's file, and go on. To get to your forms, you go to all forms here on the side.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
whatever you've named your file, if you use that to print and take with
Oh.
you, it'll save down the file.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. So I don't want to put them.
I always just do seller file or seller form, something like that, or buyer form, something like that. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I
If
don't
you're
use
doing
it
just
to print,
learn,
so
yeah,
that's
if you're doing it just to learn and want to play with it, that's perfectly fine. And for you, Shannon, to be training people, that's fabulous. But if you should do that,
and that's kind of what I do. All right.
No, I'm not referring to you. I'm referring
Right.
I'm the dummy. I had to teach myself. Yeah. So if you go to all forms, this is your forms library. And if you did have South Carolina access, this is where it should be. Also, let me mention, there's one really expensive realtor board in South Carolina, and there's one really cheap one. All you have to do is join the cheap one. And you get the forms, and it's good.
You wouldn't like to
I
explain
didn't know.
which one's the cheap one, would you?
I don't know which one is which because I'm not in South Carolina,
Okay.
but I can find out for you. But it's like $100. It's like $100 a year, $150 instead of 500,
That's the
600.
one
So,
that I paid.
I think Laura Lee made a comment to it.
so you can join any board in South Carolina, cheapest one you can find, and you'll get.
I don't right now. I'm actually in the process of rejoining because I was in Winston-Salem and I just basically had my license. I don't join a board if you're not going to sell down there. So I did. But now that I'm back Charlotte area,
Yeah.
I need to rejoin. And at XP because the standards are.
Go to York.
So see, it says old forms. Woohoo! That way, but you can use the search function to search for any of the documents that you're looking for. If you start typing in offer to purchase, it should. Well, that stuff says other things, but why are you not working? Oh, all. So you can start typing here. Let's do a different one. Due diligence request. It'll kind of auto-populate for you. You can start typing and it'll pull it up. So this is where you find your forms library and zip forms. Is everybody good with zip forms? Can we move on to Skyslope?
Just,
Yes.
how do you transition from this? But when you can't go from zip forms into Skyslope, right? You have to
No.
go-
Right, you have to go into start in Skyslope,
okay.
and then it's attached there. And then if you wanted to open this full version of zip forms, there's a link there you can upload there. So we'll go on.
I always go into Skyslope and then I open zip forms from there.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but do as much work as you can in zip forms before you bring it over to Skyslope, correct?
Mhm.
If that's your preference. That's not what I'm going to teach you today.
I was going to say, there isn't a way to
You
fill
can.
out your forms from Skyslope.
Yeah.
I thought you had to start in zip forms.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a preference. If you like doing it in and saying, okay, my transaction is here for what I'm using it for to start with. I'm going to fill out all of my forms here. Then I'm going to move to Skyslope and get it DigiSigned and whatever. It just depends on how you use it. But and for our purposes and our training purposes today, this is how to use Skyslope to do it all.
My concern, hopefully, out of this class is when you get a counter, you have to change something, and it comes back for a change. I haven't found either of the systems to be easy to either put a line through it or change it or whatever to re-add.
I use DigiSign to do that.
Okay, that's where I'm getting aggravated with the program.
Yeah, but even if you were even if you were just using zip forms and you paid for digital ink, you would have to go in, correct the information, resend the entire thing for signature. If you're wanting to make changes, and you're just going to have to mark things off and use boxes and get them initialed, and there's really no way around that. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah. So hopefully I'll give you some things that may make it easier for you. All right, so we're going to go to Skyslope. So you want to log into your Skyslope form or accounts. No, Skyslope.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I was already through it.
Okay.
I just saved the login page.
Yeah,
Right there.
Skyslope.com.
Yeah.
You can just log in from there. I've forgotten all about my presentation here. I really start just teaching and it kind of flows, so I don't deal with this much. But
Darn those.
for the people watching on the Zoom call. So intro to Skyslope, we're going to log in. It's your EXP email address and whatever password they gave you. Usually that comes after we onboard you. And we're going to get to know our way around. We're going to manage listings, manage transactions, go over working documents, DigiSign, and how to add an alternate email account. Just note these are, again, 2 different programs that work independently of each other, but have some integration with each other. All right. So the first thing I'm going to point out here is the working document section. Mine looks a little different because it's a staff account. But if you go into working documents and then you go into office documents, maybe, you'll come to a page that looks like this. We're doing some revamping. I think it was announced at the last couple state meetings. We're doing some regionalization stuff. So it's going to look just a little differently, but this is where you get your lease invoice for rentals, your agent completion or file form.
I didn't see that in here.
Go to page 2.
Oh, there it is.
Referral agreement. The EXP referral agreement requires a BIC signature. In North Carolina, we do not require a BIC signature for a referral. So in the North Carolina folder, we're going to start utilizing these folders a little more. We have a referral agreement that does not require a BIC signature. So you may want to download that. We're also going to, some of these are outdated and I'm working on getting them removed and getting all of the documents that we need put in. But we're going to put things like how to fill out a professional services disclosure, our transaction quick reference guide. So you don't have to go, where is that again? Where is that again? Where is that again? It'll all be in these folders. So that's one of the things that I'm working on setting up.
Is that like an official checklist or listings, offers?
I'm going to give that to you at the end. There wasn't one. I made one. It's kind of a cheat sheet. But typically, when you get to your checklist, all of the required fields are what you're going to need to address at some point. But yeah, yep, that's it.
So the office tab has got something, something that. other
EXP.
people-
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have, let me just kind of. So you guys should have personal docs, office docs, and zip forms. Rejected offers and zip form plus. Is that right? Does anybody know? On your agent logins, do you have personal docs, office docs, and rejected and zip forms?
It's not touchscreen.
You should have.
So under the rejected offers, we have to keep it as a whole transaction?
I don't really know what your rejected offers does, to be honest with you.
Because I know I did read Skyslope that they require us to hold on to the rejected offers. So
Yeah, but I don't know how you use it, and that might be something that I need to do.
just for
Can,
reference.
I don't have that.
I don't need it.
you don't have rejected offers?
No.
Okay.
It's personal.
Okay. So as an agent, you might not. That's what I wanted to know if you did or you didn't. But you should have personal docs, office docs, and then zip forms plus.
This is under working documents too.
You do
Yeah.
have rejected offers?
I go under, I'm sorry. I missed-
Working
what is it?
documents?
Working documents?
Mhm.
No, it just says personal docs,
No.
office docs.
Office
Okay.
docs.
Yeah, yeah. We don't
Oh.
really deal or worry about the rejected offers.
Yeah.
Mine's just different because it's staff login.
Okay.
The agent completion of file form is the form that we use when you have a transaction, and it's the number one thing on the checklist. Basically, it says, "Hey, I'm all done. Review my file."
Agent completion.
Agent
That's
completion of
However,
file.
you guys review them before that ever happens.
So
You caught me by surprise on my last deal because I wasn't done yet. and
So,
all of a sudden somebody was
we need
reviewing
to.
it.
So that's what I was going to say. That's how it's been presented, but that's not really how we use that document.
Okay.
If we need to review your file and it's closing next week and your agent completion of file form is not in there, we're reviewing it anyway, because we have to.
Yeah.
Really, that agent completion of file form is a document that lets us use it internally to say, okay, the file is done or not done. It lets us kind of gauge where you're at. And then on the other side of it, when we approve your file, that is the only document that will never get approved.
Yeah.
Because we don't approve that, then once we broker approve your file, it goes to payment processing, and that's how payment processing knows to give you a DA, a split DA.
But that should be up. If you're doing a listing, that needs to be up in what, how many days?
We don't have that on the listing side. If it's just a listing, we don't have that agent completion of file form. If you've turned it into a transaction, yes. But if it's just a listing, no offers, no agent completion of file form. Right now, listings are being reviewed in real time. Yes, sir.
Is there a process then to get them from here to you, or do you just see what I'm doing?
We just see what you're doing.
Okay, because that's what I wasn't sure of. I'm working as a buyer now, but even when that time comes, is there a process for me to take my file from that buyer and
Oh, I see what you're saying.
get them to?
Yeah, so we, I probably need to add that to the presentation. On Workplace, there's a North Carolina Google Links and Submission form. Is it links? Is it Google Links and Submission? Yeah.
So we don't do it through here?
We don't have a good process for this. This is why Skyslope is not a catch-all, do-all. And so it really just is a crappy process. We have no place for you to house your documents before it's under contract or before it's a listing. There's no place for us to do that in Skyslope. So what we've done is in Workplace, It's NC links and sign file submission. There's a Google form in there where you submit your buyer pre-offer to purchase documents, like you're working with a real estate agent, and your buyer agency agreement, and any pre-listing documents. I don't know that you would have any, but if you have documents that you have for a seller client before it goes under contract, then you put them in there.
Before it goes under listing agreement.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess the reason for that form is that North Carolina requires all forms to be turned in to your brokerage within 72 hours. So with Skyslope, there was really no way to house the buyer agency, and they're working with real estate agent. So EXP came up with that, especially for North Carolina, because of that ruling.
Okay, and what is that? Because I have that exact situation right now. They're just sitting in, I guess, Skyslope or somewhere signed.
So you'll need to go to that NC links. What is
Is this
it? NC links and file submission.
Link folders? Is that?
No. Right there. NC links and
I
file.
just made myself a folder and I keep them in my own personal folder.
Scroll down.
And then,
Skyslope.
no,
And
on
it's
my
right there.
desktop. And
You
then
just
as
submit the
I
document,
finish,
share
I
it to
get to,
Google
let's say I
Form.
have a buyer.
And it asks you questions.
Let's say I have
Oh,
a
so
buyer
we
and I'm
send
working
it
on
there.
these forms.
So even though they're approved and
And
uploaded
until
in
I
the
actually have a
transaction,
contract,
No,
And I
once
can
you have a
build
transaction, it's fine.
transaction,
Say that again.
I
But
have
once
them in
you
a
have
folder.
a transaction, you're fine. This is just like, say you have a buyer that you just started working with that hasn't written an offer yet. You need to house that somewhere so that if we get audited as a brokerage, we can show North Carolina Real Estate Commission that we are being compliant to their rules.
so keeping it in Skyslope isn't,
It's in DigiSign. So,
I mean, I'm.
But we don't have it. It has
Yeah,
to be
but-
turned into your broker in
Right.
charge within 48 hours.
And here's the deal. That's what, if you have everything known in DigiSign, go ahead, go try to find it when the commission comes knocking on
Yeah.
your door.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have everything.
We really are attempting to make it easy if we were to get audited and everybody to be in one level compliant area. And you're correct. If you've already written an offer, then you probably already have the transaction completed, and that's fine, as long as it is somewhere that we have access to getting it.
So does everybody have this?
No, that's in the writing.
If you go on Workplace.
It's on Workplace. If you go into Workplace, you search for a group called NC Links and File Submission.
Oh, that's
Did you find it?
not yet.
You have Workplace?
Oh, right here.
Well, did you see it?
I have everything in here.
North Carolina, South
I'm
Carolina.
closing.
But
I
you
think,
have to
3
turn it
rows.
into
And that's okay.
And I
If you
haven't
have,
turned anything in. Everything's sitting in my Skyslope.
okay, so what
But
you need
it's
to
showing
do,
it's been approved.
Then you
But that
turned it in.
means nothing?
then you turn it
No,
in.
does. And you turned it in.
No. We're only talking about before it goes under contract. And you have a
Okay.
buyer agency agreement and working real estate agent. But
Okay.
those people aren't under contract and you don't know when they're gonna be under contract. There's
Okay.
no way for us to see that.
All
So
right.
you would just submit it to that group. So the commission says, okay, you gave it to your broker in charge, so you're compliant. But then once you do get them under contract, then we'll have the Skyslope all set up and it'll all be there in one place for you.
All right.
So you guys will put that in Skyslope or we put that in?
He's put-
We put it.
All right.
It shows it's an NC link, so if I have a South Carolina, I'm still submitting it there as well.
Talk to Lori B.
So you just email it to that email address.
No, it's,
No, it's a
there's
Google form.
See this?
Where, on the left-hand side of the Google form? I'm in.
Here, let me bring it up here. Let me log into my Workplace.
Have you been a member for a while? Because I just hit join.
Yeah, so I just did.
Oh, let me just approve you then. Hold on.
Yeah, I
Let
just
me
did-
do that.
I just did join too,
Okay, all right, guys. Hold on.
but mine brought me right in when I hit join.
Yeah, the Google links and file submission should just let you do it.
Yeah, just let me right in.
It should be anybody.
Maybe a class on this would be good.
Maybe a what?
A class on this would be good.
So you would just
What we're talking
Oh.
about.
click on that, and then you would just fill this in and attach your files.
Well, it's pretty easy. Did you see it?
Oh, I'm looking at it now, yeah, for the first time.
And I just saved it to my laptop or my bookmarks.
Okay.
Just tell me how to close out here, please. Once everything's in there and you're ready to close, you have to fill out your agent completion on file.
Well, if your file's approved, you've already done that.
But I hit save for you.
Oh,
We'll get in.
files approved.
We're gonna get into all that.
I mean, in this market, we don't have a lot
And
of
we'll make sure that
buyers that were not
see it. Everything.
writing offers for and moving into the Skyslope, you know, but if the market was to flip or level out, then it's possible to
$200.
utilize that more.
Those should be approved. You're welcome.
I just came on board.
I don't want to
3
get,
weeks ago.
and have you been to the new agent orientation yet?
On the world? Yeah.
With Charlene?
Yeah.
Okay. If you reach out to Charlene or even myself with any questions, we'll be happy to get you going. But it sounds like you've done it correctly. It's just getting those little pieces put together.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I'm working in here, I'm getting my form signed.
Mhm.
and My deal, like I said, they're both 3/4 the way complete, closing in a couple of weeks. I just want to make sure, I'm closing it
You're
out
gonna get
properly
paid.
so I can get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if it says approved, you're getting paid. But I can take a look at yours and
All right.
Michelle when we're finished if you still have questions.
The woman's name Charlene, you said?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
SH.
she's the one that did
Yeah.
the orientation.
She is our provisional broker coach. Vic. I don't know that we've come up with a great name, but she's overseeing. We're Superwoman. We are starting to revise the provisional broker program, making sure they have better supervision and things like that. She's in charge of that. So she does great with the new agents coming in who aren't new, but new coming in, and the provisional brokers. So that's her wheelhouse, and that's kind of what she's taking charge of right now.
Are you not that person anymore?
Huh?
You're not the PV?
No, if they're
Oh,
my
okay.
PV, yes. But we're developing a program and an EXP North Carolina EXP University. So we can make sure that these provisional brokers are getting all of the support that they need, that they are doing everything that they can, and having that double layer of supervision. Because as many people as we have, I have 50 provisional brokers, Matt has 100, Raleigh has 80. As many as we have to have those layers going down, that we have our mentors trained correctly, that we have, systems in place, that they're being supervised. So that's something that she's working on. So the agent completion of file form is just a placeholder document that says, just use it in the way of, okay, I'm done. It doesn't mean that your file won't get reviewed before then or after then. It just means, hey, I'm done with my file. I don't care if you use the agent completion of file form or any other document. So some people have started doing this. This is the agent completion of file form. It's relatively boring. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't need to be signed. It has no real purpose other than to go in that slot so we can, so it flags your file. If you want to upload a picture of your dog, your baby, your house, your car, I even made a joke the other day, if you want to flip me off because you're tired of me, whatever it is that you would like to upload there, keep it clean. But I don't care what it is. Just something has to be there. It's been entertaining. Some people have, put pictures of their dogs smiling or the beautiful lake views or babies. So it kind of helps us be able to laugh and put a human touch to it. So
Can I ask one more? Where is this located?
in the working documents section and then
Okay.
office documents. And it's on
Okay.
page 2.
Okay.
So
I actually saved mine right on my desk.
Oh,
I would do that. I would save it on your desktop, and then that way you can just click and go, because you are not going to want to come back here every time, and it's a huge pain in the ass. But sorry. So again, you're going to start seeing some changes like this in North Carolina Triangle, Triad, Eastern Coastal. You're going to start to see some of those things break out. the email addresses are now live for our regions. So nc.charlotte would be what you do. If you're under me, it's nc.lake Norman. If you're under Michelle, it's nc.triad. I believe, is that correct? Gosh. Yeah, we'll see. So it'll be nc.asheville, nc.coastal, nc.raleigh, or triangle. And all of those emails will go to the appropriate broker in charge, and we'll have our own platform. So hopefully we can start tracking these emails better than just email NC broker and hope it sticks. Yeah. So hopefully that's a better process. So thank you for your patience during that transition. All right. So you click the eXp Realty logo at the top left-hand corner.
I'm going to try it.
It'll take you back to the front page, maybe. If you ever want to get back to the front, you always just hit eXp Realty at the top left. All right. So let's go in and manage our listings. If you go into manage listings, all of your listings will be listed. This is all of y'all's listings. There are 92 pages, which means that's 920 listings that we have to review on a daily basis. So if you want to create a listing, you go right here, top right, to create a listing. If you want to access an existing listing, it will be listed right here. Is it a listing that's under contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. So this is only active listings. If they've gone under contract, they'll show up in your transaction. Yeah. So I have one active listing. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to go into that and use it as an example. But if you click create a listing, we're not going to go all the way through it today, but it has like a assistant where you can enter the information, enter the MLS number. I don't need your actual MLS number. So if you ever have a property that isn't going into the MLS and you're like, I don't know what number to put in, make up a number. Because half of the information that goes into Skyslope is for our record retention, for your record retention. And if there just isn't a number, there isn't a number. We're not going to require it. So you'll go through create a listing. There's the different tabs. I'll pull it up here in a minute if it'll go. All right. And once you do the automated part and put in the initial information, it'll bring you to this screen. This screen, you fill out all the information you can. It's got your address. Make sure you're the agent. Also, if you are a mentor or you're a mentee, my new suggestion is that you add your mentor as a co-list agent so they can see everything that you do. They can help you make sure your transaction is correct. They can make sure that you are uploading the right cover sheet so they can get paid. It's a very awkward conversation for our mentors to say, hey, did you upload that sheet? Well, no, I didn't. All you care about is getting paid. Well, no, I did a job and I'm worrying about getting paid. And then you have a conflict of, well, I don't feel like they did anything. And then I feel like I did too much. So hopefully this will just work out the balance. If you're a mentor, get added to your mentee transactions when you're on them. And you'll only be able to see the one. It's not like you'll be able to see everything that they're doing, but you'll be able to see the one thing that you're in charge of helping them with.
But only if they add it.
Yeah, only if they add it. But I would just say in your practices as a mentor, I would say, I need you to add me. When you go under contract, I need you to add me. And that's just an expectation up front. And then we start telling the mentors or the mentees, this is what you're going to have to do. And if we add that as an extra layer, we should start getting rid of some of those tensions. The type is going to be typically residential listing or land listing, an REO listing or new construction. Don't. Yes.
Listing agent. So this is for internal purposes. It's not what you would tell the MLS.
No, this is internal only. Yeah. Everything in Skyslope is internal only. Yeah. All right. This source, unless you got a lead from making it rain, it really just doesn't.
Or Op City.
Or not even Op City. I mean, that really is just a useless field.
Can we, is it useless to us?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Can the agents use it to track? So that
You
there's no
can,
reports?
yeah, like
Okay.
you can use it if you know it's a personal referral or how, you know, you got it from an open house. If for us, it doesn't mean anything on our side of it. We're not looking for something if we see that or, you know, things like that.
So if you had like an Op City lead, where would you put that in all this?
You put it on the commission tab, which here, you could put a note right there. It says Op City lead, I owe them X%. Payment processing is going to go back and verify that. That's the other issue we have with Op City, and when Op City gets turned off, it's because agents aren't telling us that it was an Op City lead. We never paid them, and they shut us off. So it's kind of everybody gets upset, but everybody needs to do what they need to do. So it's hard to make the wheel go round when there's not a real great process, like with e-commissions or commission advances. They send us a letter that we put on file that then gets put into the thing. We typically have no issues with e-commission because they do that. Op City does not. They just mass email us. And if I could show you the emails we get from Op City, you would pass out. And it's difficult to track. Their online system is not real user-friendly. It has each individual agent, and we could go look up, but we're not going to know unless you tell us. So additional commission breakdown information would be good, or you could put it as a referring agent Op City with a commission split. However, you would, whatever you would need to do to tell payment processing that you have a referral. All right, so this is kind of where what sets you up for what you're going to get paid. You go to the next file, and this is your contacts. For sellers, it's quite easy. It's just really the seller information. Whatever information you're putting in here is the information that will populate in DigiSign. So if you don't have an email address and you're like, why do I have to keep putting in this email address? Go back and put it in your contacts, and it won't do that anymore. Yes.
I had a contract and I used the option in the DigiSign Word NA to put in everywhere. It till we put in a group, and I tried to get rid of it from when I was in Skyslope, and I couldn't get rid of it. So I, you know, where it was, and I didn't want it, I couldn't remove it. So I had to get rid of it. I didn't know if
Skyslope is quirky.
Okay.
It's just quirky. Sometimes you have to reset it. Sometimes what worked yesterday doesn't work today. And we know that Skyslope is not going to do it long term. We know. We don't know if we're going to build our own platform that you could just choose whatever it is that works best for you. If you want to use Dotloop, if you want to use DigiSign, we might be able to use some back-end program that when you submit, it just comes to us and it looks different to us.
Having experience with it, that's just
Everybody's got a different take.
So, yeah, so far.
Anyone who came over from KW will tell you they loved it. And you didn't like it? Yeah. Well, 90%. Let's say that 90% of people say, hey, I love Dotloop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy. I think it's very easy and very user friendly. I mean, you just go attach. Or,
But you and I
Yeah,
dealt
once
with,
you're familiar.
you and I dealt with the problem with Skyslope.
Yeah.
And that was, I had,
And there's a way.
the first contract in the same house had a husband and girlfriend, or a guy and a girl.
Mhm.
The second contract after that terminated, the girl's dropped off because she's not part of the deal. We can't get rid of her.
Yeah.
And then they get in.
But again, it's internal in
Yeah.
Skyslope. It has nothing to do with your contract.
Yeah.
If she's there, it's like kind of like who cares? I hated to say it that way, but it was like she's there. I don't, we can't really do anything about it.
Well, the problem is she keeps on getting emails. I can't get her to not get emails.
Emails from who?
Somehow she's attached to the deal. And every time I try to send him an email or what have you, she's also, which fortunately she's not a has-been. She's still with him, but somehow she's still connected to emails to the deal.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay. All right. We're just going to move on. So this is what it looks like when you get to the listing checklist, and pretty much everyone stops here and doesn't do anything with documents, logs, or tasks. But on our end, we have this little thing where we can, this is how we approve your files. And withdraw your files or tell you you need more things. This is how we email you, etc. If this were to go under contract, there's a button to the kind of top middle right. It's called accepted contract. You click that button and then it'll walk you through the process of turning it into a transaction at that point. If your listing expires or terminates, you have to withdraw the listing. Let me say it again. If your listing expires, you have to withdraw the listing, or else we're going to have to go back and do it for you. And so some of that's what creates some of the more time-consuming things in our day. So I like to teach it, not so I can say, hey, I'm too busy, help me, but hey, I'm a little busy. If you could make sure that you're withdrawing your listings if they're expired and not going to renew, that'll help us tremendously. I still have something to do on my side once you do that, but I won't have to guess. I'll know that it's done. I don't have to go research it in MLS and add that extra layer. Okay, so once you have it there, you'll have all of your information in the beginning. So this one's going to be a pretty good example. These people are friends of my husband. They're the sweetest people in the world, but I cannot sell their house. I cannot reduce the price. They will not clean. We're not way far off in my price. That's why I agreed to take the listing, but they agreed to do some cleaning, and that didn't happen, right? This listing is going to sit. Unfortunately, it's in Troutman. This thing should have been sold yesterday. But there's some property line issues. There's a bunch of stuff, some things falling down. They can't get the HVAC repaired without selling the house. So I can't sell it FHA or VA. It has to sell conventional or cash. So this is one of those files that has issues. The lead-based paint and that property disclosure, I have, well, that's a note that, actually I'll need you to look at it. But the lead-based paint, I sent it to them weeks ago and they won't sign it. Probably because they're like, I'm probably not going to sell the house and we're just going to let it sit till October and see if it sells. I've already reduced my commission. They have no wiggle room unless they start doing something. So with this, I'm not going to go out there and do measurements because I wasn't going to do measurements because of all of the stuff in the house. After he got it done, I was going to go back and do the measurements. It's not because I wasn't going to do them, but I'm not going back unless he cleans. You know what I mean? It's totally okay for this to look like this. And you don't want to feel like, oh, I have to have it now, have to have it now, have to have it now. If it looks like this, it looks like this. It's just going to sit there.
Yeah, but does it
Until
make
you
more
fix it.
work for you guys?
No, we won't see it again until you upload something.
Okay.
So once we've reviewed it, until you upload something to trigger review, it's not going to bother us one bit. It will sit there.
On the listing side.
On the
yeah.
transaction side too.
Well, the transaction side, we go through every couple of days though.
What if it's gonna close? What if it's gonna close and I don't have all my stuff in?
You're not gonna get.
You're not gonna get paid.
Well, saying that, I just got a DA and I didn't have all my stuff in there.
It was just
It's a single
basic,
DA.
single DA.
You
So
didn't
yeah,
get a split check.
EXP is gonna get their money, and you're gonna have to get us to broker a preview before EXP will pay you.
But see, this is a land deal. I'd rather EXP, like I would.
And
rather-
that's okay.
but I use a transaction coordinator, Deanna, and she and I could say, how do you get paid? So it's better to pay her first and then get my money there. And I don't want to go back. I would rather the money go to EXP and then put it in my account. I'm good.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You're
She
good.
is amazing, by the
But
way.
she is. Yeah.
She is a
Yeah.
bulldog for you agents too. I mean, she is on it.
Oh yeah.
Love her to death.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's good.
She's very
And
good.
Lauren and I say we screw her up.
Almost
If you're
enough
looking-
to
if
walk in
anybody's
and
looking for a
have to
transaction
send
coordinator.
you some. She's not taking any more agents right now.
Isn't
She is. She's full.
Yeah.
She calls me and asks me if I can do it. And then I tell them, no, I can't. Let me find somebody. No, actually, I brought on an assistant. So I'm training her to do transactions. So
Nice.
hopefully, she's the XP agent. So we'll have another, hopefully, rock star TC in the making. So, but yeah, she was full. She had a South Carolina agent who needed a transaction coordinator. And I was like, I just don't have time right now. So that's what got me thinking about bringing on an assistant for my company.
There's a lot of people that don't know that that's out there for us to
I
do.
know, and it's cheap.
I pay $300 for transactions.
Oh, you're
And you
good.
know how much, and she does make sure all my
Everything.
paperwork's right. And she's always like, if she.
I negotiate.
Yeah.
I do it all. Contract close, you hand it to me and it's done.
Oh,
Well,
do you?
I was, yeah.
No, you're not.
I'm not taking on any more agents either. No, I just have 2 or 3. But it's getting harder and harder to do as I grow in my
Yeah.
career in EXP. So,
I'm thriving off of doing my own. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Because I just find it's exciting to me. I'm enjoying it.
well, I think you have to at first at least do 1 or 2.
I did.
And then you'll
You get too
know
busy.
how it
You really
is.
can't do it.
When I get too busy, I'm concerned because I just have a hard time trying to figure out how the transaction coordinator, closing coordinator, whatever you want to call them, knows the deal enough to do it. I'm just.
Well, they're not, it's not contract to close like she's doing it. She's not negotiating repairs. You're still doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
She's just putting your paperwork in and making sure that you have all your
I
paperwork.
gotta get my wife to do it.
Yeah.
You can do that as well. All right. So I just wanted to say it's okay that it looks like this if it's not all put together. If it's one of those problem listings that you run into and the sellers aren't cooperating, you're like, God, I can sell this thing. It's okay. It's not, as long as you're getting us what you have within 48 hours of it being signed, we're good. So once we get moving on that, we'll be good. So if I were to then get a contract on here, I would click accepted contract. And then it would take me through the steps to create a transaction. So I'm going to go back to eXp Realty. And now we're going to go into manage transactions. Here, top right green button, create transaction, and it'll walk you through the steps. I'm going to pull up this one that I have under contract. And same thing here, it'll show a list of your running transactions. All right, so when you first input your information, the most important thing on this is your type and your checklist type. Right here and right here. These two are what are going to drive your checklist. So this has to be right and that has to be right in order for it to all fall together. So if you have a listing, which we've seen a lot of in the last few weeks, if you have a listing that went under contract and you never uploaded you've never created a listing, and you go in and you put listing sold, and it looks like this: residential listing, seller side only, listing sold, and there's no listing documents, we're going to have to take it all out, undo it all. There's no way for us to fix it on the back end. So make sure if you have a listing that you input the listing first and click the accepted contract to turn it into a transaction.
And you just said we, but when you say we, you mean the agent has to do that. We have no way of doing
No,
that.
right. The agent has to do that, but we are going to have to cancel it out.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure
yeah.
you clarified that because I didn't get a lot of pushback on that one, and there's nothing that as compliance we can't do that to your file. So
Can you show them type? You see where it says, not the checklist type, but the second one where it says type checklist? Yeah. This is like really crucial because this is how I found out, this is how I never put both listing and sold because I wasn't representing the buyer. And I forgot to check this one because it just automatically goes to whatever. So I didn't put both listing and sold. And what that did is that screwed up my my commission. So I had a 10% commission, 7% went to the listing agent, 3% went, it was just a lot, 3% went to the buyer's agent, okay, or the buyer side. And so it must have defaulted or something to listing sold, or I didn't change that. So then when they get the DA, it says that their own EXP is only getting on the seller side because I didn't have both listing and sold. I didn't have that. So they're only paying me the 7% on it. And like an idiot, it's like, I'm going to Shannon's class this week. I know that I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong?
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. All right. So sale is sale only. Like you're just the buyer side. Listing sold is you're just the seller side. Now in your situation, you should have been able to say, hey, payment processing, there's no buyer on the other side. The sub-agency thing we were discussing may have triggered them to think about it differently, but both listing and sale is for dual agency.
Well, when I did that, when I did both list, because what it did is before I had it, when I put both listing and sale in, then on the commission tab, the commission was correct.
Okay.
So I don't know about that. So
Okay. It's probably going to be a little bit of a one-off situation because when you do that, when you do both listing and sale, it may default to a dual agency where it's going to say, do you represent the buyer?
yeah, it did.
Okay, so in that case, you would just say, represent seller only, receiving entire commission. You just put comments in.
Okay.
And then that way they would know, what to,
She was
what to do.
Yes, can you duplicate it?
What happened is I have a lot listed, and the buyers came to me. They called me, and I showed them the lot. Well, I'm not going to represent them. It's a cash deal. It's quick, easy peasy, and so we're just gonna. So I'm not going to represent them as a dual agent. And it was just, and that's the first time I did that. I usually do buyer's agency even with them, but it's. I think I will because it's easier.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you could.
yes, that's all I did. That's all I had to do. And then she's saying on the listing agreement, I mean on the offer to purchase, where it says the buyer, you just put unrepresented buyer up.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I had the seller. Yeah.
All right, so then we have our contact information, which everyone knows how to fill out contact information. But the most important thing on this screen is the attorney information. Make sure your attorney information is correct. This is the email address they're going to use to send out the DA when you get paid. So make sure that your attorney information is correct and you have the correct paralegal email.
So I'm drawing a blank. You said DA or DA?
It's a closing disbursement agreement from EXP allowing you to get paid at closing or for one check to be sent to EXP, which is a single DA.
Oh, okay.
So split DA or single DA.
And on the title and escrow, on that title, the title escrow or whatever it said, an attorney or whatever it says, you only have to fill one of those out. I didn't know that. I was filling three.
Oh yeah, you just pick one.
You can just do the one.
Like just the attorney for our.
Because sometimes what they'll put, the escrow attorney is holding the earnest money, but you don't know yet, who the attorney and all that
You don't have to-
information.
You can like put unknown in it first to set up your file if you don't
That's
know
what
who
I
the
did
closing
to kinda
attorney is
get
going to
through
be.
that
Just make
part.
sure you go back and update it once you find out who the closing attorney is going
But
to
we
be.
don't have to do it in all three categories, just like.
Just
under
the one.
Escrow one.
You can
No,
just do it
the
in the first one.
closing.
Just close.
Yeah, you can do, there's like escrow's the first one, I think. The last
Title
one's
companies,
attorney,
yeah.
title company and attorney. You don't have to scroll all the way down to attorney if you don't want to, or you can just put in attorney, or you can just put the attorney's information in the first one. It's fine. This is that stuff that's all just for us.
I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. Okay, so the commission tab here. Okay, so this is the this is the listing sold side. So here I have, this is actually another weird situation, but I'm doing it for minimum commission. I'm not getting a commission on this one. It was my house, but it's titled in my family's trust. So I'm not on the trust. My mom's on the trust. Like I'm at the bottom of the totem pole from my grandparents. So I can't do it as a canal because it's not in my name. If your name is not on the document, you cannot do a personal sale. If it's not your husband, you can't do a personal sale. You have to do minimum commission. So I have to do minimum commission on this one. So $565, and then the sale commission is 3%. Now here, if you were to go ahead and list it out correctly, here you could put the 10% under listing commission, and then in the bottom here, you could put unrepresented buyer, seller is paying me the full commission. And you shouldn't have to worry about that both listing or sold.
What's the minimum commission?
Okay, minimum commission is $500 to EXP and $40 E&O and $25 broker review fee. So that's $565. That's you not getting a dime, but having your butt covered, files reviewed, and EXP gets their minimum commission.
One of the others. So that's like if you have, you still have to pay that.
No.
But that's on a listing.
Oh.
So it's the amount you're charging. So it's a little different. Like,
What is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So for personal sale, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so- yeah, that's the minimum on a, yeah. So if you were a capping or non-capping agent, it doesn't matter. The minimum commission is, well, maybe not if you're capped.
If you're capped, it's only
Would be
$250. Yeah, it's $250.
Right.
Yeah.
Administrative fee,
I
basically.
would just say,
It's not that,
I would say.
it's not really a commission.
So you
It's
get
like a
$200
minimum.
amount, but you're doing this for percentage.
No, that's not for personal.
No, 315 is a personal sale. You get 3 of those a year.
I don't know, I'll pull up one.
315, so it's a $250 transaction fee, the $40 E&O, and 25 broker review. So you get 3 of those a year. It has to be for yourself or your spouse in order for it to be a personal transaction.
So like this, she's selling for her family.
Yeah, this I'm doing for my family. I'm not going to charge them commission because it was really my house. I already got the equity out of this house. You know, I'm just selling it to make sure I get all my money back and we move on.
We don't want
We don't want to do that all the time. I mean, I suppose if you like working for free, EXP will take your $500, but
If you're selling for like your daughter.
yeah, 565 minimum commission. Yeah. Our EXPs in North Carolina, our standard is charging a 3% listing commission or 6%. If you go below, it's in the North Carolina PND, and I can't remember if it's 2% or 5%, you need to get your BIC's approval. But if you're doing minimum commission for a family member, you don't really need to get your BIC's approval. We're okay with it. We're okay with you reducing your commission. But like if, say we see you're doing a bunch of deals and your commission, you're only taking 1% on every file and you're offering 3% to the buyer's agent, we're probably going to have a conversation as to why.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't
if
you
we,
know what
like,
you-
what is this girl doing? I mean, sometimes we see, a lot of times we'll see agents who do different types of assignment contracts and stuff for other people, and we kind of get to know who they are. And so it gets quite confusing, and we'll go, what are they doing? And so we talk it out, we work it out. But when we start seeing things consistently, they do pop out. So we would probably, have a conversation at that point. Why aren't you, charging more commission? And we kind of go from there. But it's in the North Carolina PMP. I can't remember if it's 2% or 2.5% right now off the top of my head. But if it's under that amount, then you probably need to get like approval to do so. All right, go to the checklist. This is where all of your documents are going to be.
When you say Vic approval,
Mhm.
does it have to be our designated
No.
Vic? Okay.
No.
Good.
We work as a team.
Okay.
So especially here in Charlotte, talking to me is as good as talking to Matt. Talking to Matt is as good as talking to me. We're good.
Let's try this.
We want to talk to Charlene on the coast because you're comfortable with her, and she's the one. Go to Charlene by all means. We all collaborate with each other if we have questions. So if we've never run into a situation, maybe another BIC has, and we'll say, hey, has anybody ever dealt with X, Y, and Z? And someone will say, hey, that's me. And so we'll all collaborate together. So here, my listing file has not been reviewed because I turned it into a transaction now. And my closing date isn't until the end of August. We're not there yet. So my file hasn't been reviewed yet, which is fine. But I've got everything in there. So here's that agent completion of file form saying, hey, my thing's good to look at. Good to go. We're waiting on the, my grandfather's 88 years old. I'm waiting on him to sign the due diligence receipt. I'm like, can I just sign that for you? He was like, I think I mailed it. I'm like, oh, Lord, okay. Yeah, snail mail.
This is just a little off subject, but if I don't ask, I'll forget.
Okay.
When we have listing, and I'm coming from an organization that put that listing into everything for me. When I get a listing, is it then my responsibility to get it on all of the?
No, when you put it in MLS, you input it in MLS and it syndicates out to all the sites. Yes.
It does.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Sure does.
But not Skyslope.
But not Skype.
No, yeah. It was kind of off topic.
No,
Wanted
you're
to
good,
find
you're
it.
good. All right. I lied about the 2 hours. We're definitely using the 2 hours. All right. So just a couple other features here. Your documents. If you use DigiSign and you select a property to attach it to there, the documents will then be in here. Say there's a document. Say there's a document that you have the listing agreement or they're working with real estate agents and you need to separate them out after they've been DigiSigned. Here's where you would do that. So you would select the document, hit split, name the document, and use the pages to split them out. So you could put listing agreement here.
The only thing is on here because you'll have if you use DigiSign, you send it to your.
Working with real estate agents here. So if it was page 1 to say 6 and then 2, let's see, then you would do 7 to 10 or whatever. Then you'd hit split, or you can hit split and assign. Maybe not. Why isn't that working? Anyway, then you could split them and it would split them into 2 documents and then you could assign them to the checklist. If you wanted to take, I'm gonna go back up here, it's the agent completion of file form. and you want to assign it. And then you select from the drop down what checklist item you want to put it under. So you can assign the documents right from here.
Can I say this too?
Yes.
Okay, so when I've had problems, when I started, I had problems with this. So I go through DigiSign and all my documents are in here that come back through DigiSign. So say I'm having a buyer sign an offer to purchase, okay? The buyer signs the offer, I have the buyer, and so I send it off DigiSign, and I don't, sometimes I get the wrong file in there. How do we do that? Do you know what I mean?
Skyslope's quirky, and I don't know how it works. Yeah.
Sometimes if I send a file off there and I don't have it connected to you have to make sure that you have the latest file in there.
Yeah.
Like if I had the seller and I'm just sending it to get signed and then uploading it again, or so, I might have the same file name.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure, because like I was attaching the file, but that wasn't the completed file, or I was uploading the wrong file.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is which, and you just kind of
like a 1 or 2 or 3.
You can read,
Yeah.
name it, right?
Yes.
Right there.
rename.
Okay.
Right
Yes.
here.
Yes. And so that's a good thing to do.
And if you needed to DigiSign something again, you could DigiSign it through here as well.
Is this wonky if you don't have it named? What was it? Something, I don't know if it was a tax records or something. It was named, I have on mine D,
Mm-hmm.
but that was like a different title. So will it not take it if you have it labeled under something else?
No. It'll take it.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's not quirky that way. And then you can also upload documents here. If you didn't DigiSign them and they didn't automatically come through, you can upload them from your desktop. This is a log of everything that has been done. Do you guys have log on yours?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that you can see what we do, but I believe you can. Can you go to one of your transactions and check that?
I see Michelle. I don't see
Michelle, okay. So if you want to know what we did, this is where
Yep.
you can go to find out. Yep. Okay. So this is where we'll go, okay, you terminated this. Why did you terminate it? Did you terminate it because the buyer terminated the seller? Like if we have questions, we'll try to get it answered over here. So when you cancel a file out, if you can put in the good note, will be greatly appreciated. Say it does terminate. We'll need you to upload the correct signed termination to the checklist and click this cancel transaction button at the top right corner and then put in the reason. If it is a listing, it will ask you if you want to reactivate the listing, and you just say yes. If the listing hasn't terminated but the buyer walked, then you can reactivate the listing. You don't have to redo the listing and re-upload files and all of those good things. It'll just go back to being active. But you have to select yes to reactivating the listing. Okay, so we're going to move on to DigiSign. We're going to go through some how to use it, some scenarios, some templates that we have created. The templates, Michelle, can you send me a message? It's going to have to be, we're going to have to update them because they're based off last year's forms.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is our DigiSign platform. Again, if you hit eXp Realty at the top, it takes you to the home screen and you can hit DigiSign again. This is our DigiSign platform. So this is included with your Skyslope. It kind of works. If you have sent items waiting to be signed, they'll be in the sent folder. You'll be able to see who's signed and who's waiting to sign. If they say, hey, I didn't get the email, you can resend the envelope. This is where your completed ones will be. New envelope creates a new transaction. So if you click that button, it'll bring you to the screen. You can do two things. Say it's a buyer agency that you're going to get signed, and you don't have any transaction really created yet or associated to it. You're going to click no property. But if you do have a transaction, you're going to select the transaction. So then it will, one, go into your documents. And two, if you put in their contact information, you won't have to keep putting the contact information in again when you go to assign who's signing what. If their email address is in there, it'll automatically populate with their name. So for our purposes, we're going to hit new property. We're going to upload a new file. And typically I just go and steal something of Craig or Shelly's. Documents. It looks like an MLS sheet, something that will be okay. All right, so then you upload what you want here. You click next. Add your recipient. If they're already in there, like I sign a ton of stuff for Matt, it'll already be in there. If you've used it once before, it typically will auto-populate. So his role as a broker needs to sign. Go over. So if you want a signature, you just use signature. You can move it around wherever you need it to go. Date sign, date stamp. All right, Kevin. I use this read only.
What's the read only?
It's locked and only you can type in it. So when you send it, they can't change it.
Like the writer, I do the writer.
Yeah.
Like I received an offer.
So Kevin, say the price was going to change on this. I just put X's right there. And then I make another read only. Here 1,000. Put it underneath it.
Okay.
Initial. That's it. So if you're going to make a change to the contract, this is what I would do. I would exit out, make the change, have them re-sign it. It takes some playing with the size of the box and putting the X's in the right place or dashes or whatever it is you want to do to line it out. But you can absolutely do that. And then you would send it over and say, please have your client's initial the change. And then you would get it back and it will be complete.
And you guys all know that drop down, where Matt's name is.
Yeah, if there was another person here, if my name was there, you could, I mean, if you're going to do it for everyone and say you have both sides of the transaction, you could just put the buyer and seller's name in and send it to both of them at the same time and it's done. Yeah. Any questions about how to use DigiSign in just in a simple capacity? Yeah.
Excuse me, so I sent it, offered to purchase, excuse me, to my buyer, and I got the email back. So that email is what I send on to the seller.
Mhm.
That's how we get everything. We just forward the email that we get back. That's the proper procedure.
It depends on how you want to do it. I just download
view
it and reattach it. Yeah.
Can someone else view it?
Yeah, like in Dotloop, it usually has like the PDF attachment at the bottom. DigiSign doesn't do that, but they could click on it. I recommend that you probably download it and reattach it, but it's however you'd like to do it. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go back just a second and then do a template. So you're going to select no property or your property. Upload again. And actually, let me see if I can find a No. All right. I don't have a buyer agency there. What you would do is you would choose a template. So when you upload something on this side, it goes over here. So if we uploaded another document, it would then populate over here. So what you would do is say this was a buyer agency agreement. You would choose template. We have different templates in here for different documents.
But on my server, if I wanted to choose a template, it'd have to be a template I created. Correct?
No, we've created these for you. Yeah. Parker created these and we just need to update them with the new changes. And so we'd say apply template. Done. Now it says remove template instead of choose template. So that's how you know it's attached. If you're like, oh crap, I attached the wrong one, go back and you can edit it there. Click next. We're just going to use myself. It's not going to do it probably because it's like, that's not a buyer agency.
Oh, it has to be a buyer's agent.
Yeah. But what it would do is it would auto populate.
Oh, into the buyer's agency agreement.
So in this case, starting here, you have to go out and you guys have located.
The template, yeah. So what it is the template will just automatically put in the buyer and the seller. Let me see if it'll do it. Let me go back. Just any template, really. So what it does over here is it tells you it's going to require how many people. So I don't need to say I just have one buyer. I'm going to remove that recipient, but it's going to require me to put something in here. So we're just going to use Matt Reyes and C.broker. And now it'll let me go next. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Like when I was doing that, it kept making me kind of reassign for every contract I sent. I had to like reassign first sign or second sign. How come it doesn't just say that right throughout all of them?
And you have to check their emails.
Yeah, like every time. You had to. Maybe I was.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's the time you have to put their email in again.
Yeah, and so this is like if you're using the template, it's making me put it in. It's not auto-populating like it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those quirky things. Yeah. And it's not going to let me.
Doing something wrong,
No.
missing a step, and that's why I had to keep entering it each time.
Yeah, it should save it, but if you're using templates or doing maybe something a little different, it's not. But again, Skyslope's just so quirky, it's hard to tell. It's not going to let me go to the next one, but I think you get the gist. But it will put, if you put buyer one in or seller one, it will put the initials where they're supposed to go, all the way down the page with their signature, boxes. It'll put the boxes in for them to sign automatically. No, it won't sign it for you, but it automatically, you don't have to go in and put box page 1, box page 2, box page 3, box page 4. But yeah. Let me see if you guys have a couple more minutes. Let me go back to, and I need to show you how Zip Forms works with Skyslope. We didn't make it there either.
Does everybody here have a card?
I don't have my new stuff.
I don't have it.
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
You're good.
Meeting to order new ones. I put powered by EXP on it.
And you can't put powered by?
You guys are if you want to
Oh, really?
Can't do powered by anymore. But I think that was after, that decision was made after it ordered me, because not approved. It just looks good to me.
The buyer agency, here we go.
Can you go under working documents and pull something in or no?
Yeah,
I
I just gonna do a blank one.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Guess I wasn't doing what I was expected. Well,
Do what you're supposed to do. Thank you.
Because I wanted to pull the old buyer agency and make sure it worked.
I live in Statesville. I was the victim of the KW in Winston for about 8 months, and left, and then about a month later came over here.
No, that
I've been a
wouldn't.
member of IAD for years, and I've had multiple
There we go.
clients in that area.
Okay.
Okay,
It just kind of makes sense to me here for now.
I got a buyer agency.
So where you live?
So you have to put the buyer agency agreement in there.
West of
Yeah. It's got to be what you're.
Statesville's my month. Anywhere from Hickory to Winston. I don't do a whole lot.
Done. Okay. So I put the buyer agency in there, and then I attached the buyer agency template on that side. So now when we move forward, it's going to say, I have to sign this one because I'm a part of the agency agreement as the agent. And then it's going to ask me for my buyer's name. So we're going to put in Matt NC.broker. And I don't need a buyer two because I just have the one buyer. So I'm going to remove the recipient, or you could put the second buyer in. And then click next. And ta-da!
Yeah, I've been doing it by hand.
Yeah.
Can you do that again?
Magic. So what we need to do is update the forms for 2019 to add that extra page for the offer to purchase and any of the other quirky stuff. So I'll remind Parker that needs to get done, or she can show me how to do it, and I'll do it.
But you can put in information at this stage. You know, you can put like how long you're going to.
Oh, no, see,
write
look at mine through. Look how my little thing-
You would, that's, if you would have already done that, and then it would have come over as completed. I just did a blank one. Now, the one thing on these,
Addressing all of the places that need signs.
yes,
Why are mine off?
because that's working with real estate.
I
Oh,
know,
did you
but-
do the,
I did a template thing, but what?
oh, you may just have to move them, but they're close.
I want them to be.
I don't wanna
close,
move
don't you
them.
Understand?
They're close. That's as close as I can get you. Huh?
At what point?
We're gonna go back and do that. Yeah. We're just running short on time, so I want to make sure I get all the workings of Skyslope down. Right here at authorization, though, it's gonna select all three. So let's have a quick conversation, but I'm not gonna go into dual and designated agency a whole lot. We do a whole class on that, which is next Tuesday, by the way. So if you want more information, come join Matt and I, and we will be glad to go over dual and designated agency. However, on your contracts, you cannot select dual and exclusive and designated. You can't accept all three of them. So you have to get rid of one of them. So in having that conversation with your client, you'll know which one they're going to accept. It is the XP's policy that in all instances we need to practice designated. So typically we're going to say, have them sign like this. Because if we can, we're going to do designated. Otherwise it'll just be dual. Unless they're wanting exclusive, then you would get rid of options 1 and 3. And if they're like, no, I'm okay with you representing both sides and EXP representing both sides, and I just don't really care, and I don't want to sign this little designated thing, that's fine, just take it off. It's hard to explain, and it's hard for them to understand what we're doing on our side, especially when they're overwhelmed with 100 of their own things. So just as long as 1 and 2, you have one or the other, we're good. We're not going to kick it back. But if you only have 3, we're kicking it back. You cannot select designated without first selecting dual, because it is a form of dual agency. It's just how we're practicing dual. So make sure in doing that, you don't just think that everything is auto-populated and you're good to go and you can move on. That's just not what we're doing. So make sure you're having that conversation. Make sure your dual agency is filled out on your contract. That's something that we are conditioning for, making sure that the dual agency compensation amount is correct. And then it puts in your signatures. So that's kind of it on that one. If you click on EXP at the top, and let's go into working documents one more time. Then we're going to go to zip forms. All right. So now you can see that my zip forms kind of looks the same as it does in my regular zip forms. And all of my transactions are listed here to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working on my dummy file, so we'll go there. Yes.
So that's just integrating the 2
Yeah.
platforms.
Yep. Oh, and you said you didn't see yours. Did you see it?
I can't get to it.
Okay. It might just be you have to click enable and then log in. Yeah. So it just has you attach it. So we're
Going out separately, going into zip forms directly.
gotcha. So we're going to the dummy file here. You can see all of the documents. If you wanted to create a new transaction, you can from right here. It will then populate over to your full zip forms. Here, if you wanted to open it in Zip Forms Plus, that will open your full zip forms. If there's something you want to go back and work on in there. If not, we can DigiSign from here. You just click on the ones you want to DigiSign
Hold on.
and click
Sorry.
DigiSign.
I must have been floating in space. So you can actually access your Zip Forms Plus through Skyslope?
So yes.
Can you even start a transaction, or do you have
Right here.
Holy cow. Conversation for a different time. Sorry, I totally missed
No,
the
that's
beginning of
all right.
that, and don't go back through it for me, but that is just a world changer right there. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then you can, she was
I have
showing.
been using Zip Forms since I was licensed, like 10 years ago. So I love Zip Forms to know that I can do this.
You can click on these in DigiSign like it was just showing.
Yeah, that's.
And you can
So you
open it
can-
right to zip forms.
I knew that there was a connection. I just couldn't find it.
I just didn't know it would create like the
That's
OCP and so forth.
fantastic.
I thought I had to start them in zip forms and then
No.
come over here and bring them.
So-
I'm like, okay, I'll do that. That's what they.
What you would do,
On the weekly.
Yeah.
That do the zip forms 101 and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have time for that training now, and Michelle hasn't.
I
had
took
time.
it and I was.
No, they
That's
didn't
why
teach
I'm
it this
here.
way.
Oh,
They
okay.
did. Kevin told me about this.
Yes.
Awesome.
okay, so let's just kind of walk through it. So if you wanted to create a new transaction, and as Michelle said, we have seller number 1, not dummy number 1. So you have seller number 1, put in the address, and then you would hit create. Once you hit create, it then populates over here. So then your seller 1 would show up over here. Then if you want to add files, you click add form, and here's your library. If you have South Carolina, there's the same drop down.
This is phenomenal.
You have the same drop down. You can search for your forms, and they
So if
will
you
then
have
populate in here.
If you have a buyer's forms template thing, you just click on your buyer's forms and it brings it all.
And do you have to set up the templates in?
You have to set up the templates in zip forms, but once you've done that, you can do it here. So it'll just populate over. So say we're going to do this confirmation of compensation that we were talking about earlier. This is what this form looks like. It will open it up, and you can change things right from here. It's interactive.
Wow.
You hit save.
Okay.
You can
a whole new
do-
love for Skyslope. I'm just saying,
Haha.
like a whole new love for Skyslope. Right this second.
Until you start reviewing files and cussing it out.
you have a rest stop form? I did not come across
Yes.
that. No?
I've done this
Doesn't
and
just
I
have to use
squeezed
it
out
out,
back into zip
Just
forms
provide
via
professional
Skyslope, looking
services
at my
exposure.
file with my buyer.
Do
But when I click on all of these, it doesn't show that they've been signed even in the past. Is that abnormal?
Okay, so once they're signed, they're not going to show up in your zip forms. They're going to show up in your documents or in your DigiSign completed.
But they aren't.
Right, they're not going to go back to here.
Oh,
So
okay, I see.
yeah, the signed forms will never end up back here. They'll be somewhere else. But say you wanted to send this form off or one of these, let's just select these three, then you hit DigiSign. And it takes you to the DigiSign. You walk it through. No property. It automatically loads them there. If you needed a template, say one of these was a buyer agency or something, you wanted a template, you choose your template. Click next. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do me. Next. And now here are all my forms. I'm going to add my signatures, my date signed, move them around, and send. And we're done.
But if you put your buyer's agency thing in there, it would automatically.
It would automatically populate. Because when you're, let's go back. When you're bringing those documents over, you're choosing a template on each individual file. So if you need a template on one and not on the other, you can do that.
So when you have your file selected newer upload, like you're using those files there, right? That's the file that you're bringing in from zip forms. So like you have to bring the buyer's agency agreement, then you're doing a template. So I guess what I'm asking is, where am I getting that buyer's agency form to upload? Like,
so let's go back to, say, the dummy file, add form.
Oh, okay.
Select your buyer agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you would, after you clicked on it, it would go into your list. Click on it, fill it in. If you have templates assigned to your forms, it'll come over.
So as long as I do it as a template.
Yeah, so templates in zip forms are different than templates in Skyslope. So the template in zip forms is the ones that put your name, your address, your, all of your information in on every form. That template should come over. And then once you go through your DigiSign process, then you could apply that template for signing.
For signing.
The signing template.
Home warranty. America's preferred is our home.
No.
No.
So
there's no compensation from the warranty provider.
This folder is outdated, and somebody just uploaded documents there. They probably didn't even really know how. Let's see. North Carolina. What is this?
So who's uploading documents there?
Our payment processing team leads have full access to Skyslope.
People who's supposed to be with
Yeah, they have access to all 50 states, and they've told me unless I want access to all 50 states that I cannot put files in my own folder. So they have to do it for me. We're working on getting some access changes. They gave me some more access for this regionalization split out. We have totally made up our own words for these things. Regionalization split out. But I still can't upload documents. I can assign and I still can't upload documents or delete them. So that has to go up the chain. Not even, like, Parker's now a regional operations manager for the East Coast. She can't even do it. They only give it to specific people who have access to all 50 states. So, yeah. It's just one of those things. I know who to go to and what to get, and I've already requested it to be done once, but it hasn't been done. So I can't delete that out of there. But we don't have any preferred vendors that or restrict you from working with vendors. You work with who you want to work with.
Now, Deanna, when she sends me, and I haven't asked her this, when Deanna sends me, when the contract is closed, when we close it, she sends me a whole myself and the clients, like the whole file.
Mhm.
How does she do it?
It's a zip file.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it on here?
No.
Oh, she has it on her.
Yeah. So she's
Got it.
taking the PDFs and attaching them as a zip file.
Okay. Then on this, is there any way that we can take everything on here and download it to a file?
On the log or your document?
My documents, I guess.
Go to the
Or the log or anything.
Everything in the checklist.
No.
No, just everything. I mean, just everything that I've done here.
No.
So that I have all the latest things. I guess so. What I'm saying is so that I can so I know I have all the latest things here, and then I have it on my computer. But then
Well, what happens? You guys think your file goes away and it doesn't.
Okay.
You still have access to it. So let's do one more thing. Go click your EXP. I'm gonna just make sure you guys have access.
Access.
Click access archives, and all of your files will be there.
Oh, download right there.
There you go. Okay.
Look at that. Huh. Download all documents and checklist documents.
Where'd you go?
There you go.
Access
all right. So
archive.
EXP. Access archives. Find your transaction.
I think that's
download. That's probably
Yeah,
what she's doing.
Something else. I'm sorry. EXP access archive, and then you can all documents or checklists download.
There you go. Learn something new every day.
There are multiple good things today. It's been a good day.
After they're settled. Mm-hmm. Payment processing will pay us, close the file, and then they'll archive it once the payment's been. Yep. I don't do. They do more stuff with archive than we do on contract compliance side.
Yeah.
So I never knew that. That's probably what she's doing now. Yeah.
I bet she.
Yeah, probably what she's doing. All right.
Save them to Google Drive.
Right.
Just so you guys can, usually I just kind of go over this, usually so you guys can just see what we do in contract compliance and somewhat of payment processing. But these are our files, guys. We have 818 files scheduled to close this month. We have 921 active listings. We have 1344 pending through the end of the year. 45 have closed this month, 103 waiting to be settled, and 9 expired listings, which I need to go and research. But this is kind of our snapshot and what it is that we do on a daily basis, so you guys know that we are plenty busy. And when we review a file, it looks a little differently.
Seems like you guys need a few more people.
We do. We have 2 people training, so that should be good for us right now. Payment processing got another person, and they got one of their people who was supposed to be a little more temporary is going to be a little more permanent now, because she does live in North Carolina. She does have a license, so I think we're going to keep her. And so you've got April Keegan, Andrea Marshall, and Krista Viglione in payment processing, and then you have myself, Michelle O'Shell, Heidi O'Neill, and Lori Barnwell as CCS. So we're working on things to make things a little better, and working on hopefully today getting an email address for you guys to email us. It'll be like nc.transactions@exprealty.com. But then that way it'll just go to our CCS PPS team, and you don't have to say, okay, well, who's available? Is it Michelle, or is it Shannon today, or is it Lori, or is it Heidi, or is it April, or is it Andrea, or so you guys don't have to remember now that we're growing. Just one email address with any issues. If you need a file reviewed, if you need a payment, processed, if you email that one email address, I want to have a consolidated place where we can do that. And we'll all be able to assign it to each other. So if we know internally, like today, I'm working on one set of status on the back end, and you guys email about that issue. Then if Michelle gets the email, she knows to assign it to me. So it'll be less mess for you guys to deal with.
Yeah, hopefully it'll take care of the challenges of
Yeah.
you guys waiting.
Just so you know.
So did anybody have any questions before we get on out of here? And I know you wanted to say a little something. But again, I didn't use the slide at all because I'm interactive trying to, show you guys stuff.
This was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
definitely.
Did you have a
I
question?
still, yeah, do have.
Okay, we can talk afterwards if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
You mentioned another training with you and Matt.
Yes, best practices are Tuesdays at 10 o'clock in the Red Hall. And we're going to go over dual and designated agency next
That's
week.
online?
In the world. In the world. Yeah. All right. That cheat sheet is in Workplace. It's under Files in the North Carolina State Group. I'll try to push it out this afternoon as well. Kind of keep it top of mind every time I teach a class, but it is in there under Files. And this recording will be going out as soon as it downloads. It's a 2-hour download, so it takes a little while, and Kelly will push it out once she's done, or once it's done. And I think that's all I have. So, want to take a second?
Sure. Hi, I'm Steve Edwards, and I, in addition to being the expert agent, I am a business development coach, powered by a company called the Locker Room, which you may or may not have heard of. But I am looking for agents who need coaching. So I specialize in the newer agents